Hi everyone, my name's Laura and welcome to my channel So Very Laura. So today I'm going to talk about what happens when we lose our Sewjo, and I'm going to give you 5 tips that I used to try to get mine back. So grab a cuppa and let's get started. So fundamentally, as you might have guessed, I lost my Sewjo, and that is really why I hadn't been around until the last couple of vlogs for a few months on YouTube or on Instagram. So I'll fill you in a little bit on what happened to me, but some of these reasons might resonate with you as well. So let me know in the comments below if you lost your Sewjo and why. And I'm also, as I said, going to cover how I got it back. So I thought I'd start actually with what I'm wearing, which is the free pattern, or a free pattern from Tiana's Closet, which is the lantern top. And this is one of the last things that I talked to you about before I stopped vlogging, because I was going to use this make to enter the Sew April blouse challenge. So my plan was to make 2 blouses, so I did make this one, and I'll pop a picture in here of a full-length picture of what it looks like. So all went well with that, but then the first thing that caused me to start to lose my Sewjo was that horror of horrors, the bad make. So if I spin you round a little bit and you can see on Olivia, here is the make in question. And you'll see that actually it's nearly finished, but then I tried it on and realised that it wasn't going to fit. But on the final version of it, the collar would obviously stand up because you top stitch underneath so that you catch in the raw edging, so the collar stands up. And the only other things I had to do were to do the buttons and buttonholes on the hidden placket. But I'll pop you back to me now. It didn't fit. When I tried it on before I actually finished everything off, I realised it really wasn't going to fit me. So I'll put a picture in here that I got my husband to take earlier today. And you'll see that actually the real problem is on the sleeves. So when I tried this on, when I was actually making it, it was even tighter, but I've lost a little bit of weight since then. But on the sleeves, it's just incredibly tight round the biceps. And honestly, I'm not sure what I've done. So this is the Blouse de Solange, which is by Jessica Lee, and it's another free pattern. And I'd mentioned it to you in the vlog when I talked about what I was going to do for Sew April blouse. And the lovely Sam from Sequin Girly had said to me, have you seen any of these on Instagram? And I said no, and she said, I'm not sure about that, might be dodgy. And Sam, I should have listened. But the thing is that having originally wanted to make this last year, I'd cut out the pattern pieces for a size medium, and then I decided that because I was a little bit bigger, I actually cut out the size large, and I'm pretty sure I did what it said and added in the seam allowances. And what makes me really sad is I actually really like it. So yes, it was kind of frustrating because I'd spent quite a bit of time on it. And I'd taken a lot of trouble. Even though it was a wearable toile, I would have worn it. I mean, I'm wearing this and it's the same fabric. It's a quilt cover. But I'd done all my hidden placket and everything, and I got all the frills in quite nicely. You can see round the back. The frill, excuse squeaky Olivia. It's not been used for a while because I lost my Sewjo. And actually it all went together really well. So yeah, I was just massively disappointed. So that was the last thing that I did before my Sewjo really did fall off the cliff, but it did kind of make me lose confidence. And actually at this point it was April, and you might remember me talking about my sewing retreat in February, March, which I did really enjoy, but I didn't like the makes that I'd produced. So I guess my sewing confidence took a bit of a hit. And so that probably wasn't really helping. So that was the first thing. Next cause, I'm going to call this body talk. So one of the other reasons that I didn't like the makes that I made on the sewing retreat was I just didn't feel comfortable in the way that I looked in them. I have actually put on quite a lot of weight in the last 5 years. Some of that's down to me maybe not taking enough exercise and not being careful enough with my diet. Some of it is down to meds. But whatever the reason, I didn't feel happy or comfortable in my own skin. And everybody's different. And some people put weight on and they're fine about it. Other people lose a lot of weight and hate it. So I'm not, as I've said in other vlogs before, making any suggestions about what is an appropriate weight or anything like that. I just didn't feel right in my own skin. And I also didn't feel massively fit or massively healthy. So I decided around about early May, late April, early May, that I was going to try to do something about this. So I started an online fitness course, and I did it with the lovely Gemma, who is at Gemma Kelly Fitness on Instagram. So do go and give her a follow over there. And I started off with an 8-week program, which was a group program, but she still came and, you still had a catch up with her every so often, online, and you could post questions and she would answer questions and stuff. And that really got me kick-started, and I decided to carry on and keep working with her. And I am getting fitter. I'm much stronger than I was, because some of it is lifting weights, but also I am getting fitter. I am losing a bit of weight. But at the time that I stopped vlogging, I was thinking, I don't want to sew because I don't know where I'm going to end up in terms of size, and I don't want to make things that might not fit me anymore, or waste expensive fabric, or that might not suit me if I sew for my body now. And I really just kind of couldn't face thinking it through, I suppose. So the third thing that caused me to lose my Sewjo is that actually in many ways I kind of lost my everything Joe in May. And looking back, I think I'd actually been feeling quite overwhelmed with life for quite a while. And those of you who followed me certainly since last year will know that I lost my mum quite suddenly at the end of the year, and I had a break from vlogging then. And I'd lost my dad, it's now just over 3 years ago, and an aunt in the middle. And we were dealing with quite a lot of things to do with the estate around middle of May. And I think the whole thing just caught up with me, and I was off work sick for a little while, really not feeling myself, didn't feel like sewing. And actually, it was almost like, because I didn't feel like sewing, I actually knew that I really wasn't right, because generally speaking, I rely on sewing to kind of decompress if I'm going through stress in other parts of my life. And when I found I couldn't sew either, that's kind of when I knew it must be bad, and I really needed to do something about it. But yes, I think sometimes life can be overwhelming. Life can, just doing life can take up a lot of time. And that's something that can happen to anyone. Maybe not through bereavement or through grief, but just because they're very busy. You might be having an absolutely fabulous time. You might have developed a new interest and that's taking up a lot of time, or you might be engaged in DIY or doing up your property or getting fitter, and you're just not got the time to sew, and sewing doesn't have the same appeal. And I think that can really happen. Okay, number 4. So number 4 is having a sewing space that either you're just not fitting into because you've got to use it for other things and those other things are getting in the way so you can't clear it, or just your sewing space getting messy. I am looking at a pile of stuff down there that needs sorting out. So yes, that kind of impacts on me, but actually I can't honestly say that it overwhelmed me to the extent that it really impacted on my Sewjo. It was worse than it is now because I had piles of fabric that needed washing and stuff, because I never stopped buying fabric. And I really didn't want to clear it up, but that was just kind of more part of my general, I don't want to do anything. And now I'm back sewing, but it's not really bothering me. It is something that I want to get to. And I'll tell you how I'm going to do that in a bit. But yes, I think for some people, they find that just kind of complete overwhelm and it just puts them off and they don't want to go in the room or set about moving whatever else goes on in the same space as they sew in. And so they just don't sew. And the final thing, which really is kind of linked to all those things, but also I think is a kind of separate reason why we lose our Sewjo, is we're just not inspired. We can't find anything that we really want to sew. So there I was sitting at home because I was off work. I didn't need any clothes to sit at home and be off work and read thrillers, because that was about all I really felt able to do. And I couldn't get any kind of real sense of inspiration about what it would be best for me to sew. So I was just at a complete impasse, wasn't sure what to do. And so that's kind of where I've got to. So that was the hard part, if you like, the reasons I lost my Sewjo. And so here come my 5 tips that I found helpful to get me through that and get me back sewing again. And I'd love to hear from you if you have had the same sort of thing. If you've lost your Sewjo at any point, you might even have lost it at the moment. And also what your tips are for getting through it, because, you know, I'm all right now, but it could happen to me again, and I'm sure there's lots of other people in the same boat. So I'd love for you to carry on the conversation in the comments. And if you're enjoying this vlog and you want to hear more from me, please do hit the like button so I know that you're enjoying this content. And also please do subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks. So, having talked about the reasons why I wasn't sewing and why sometimes we don't sew in general, here's what I did. So, number 1, I didn't force it. I just decided that if I didn't feel like sewing, that was okay. Now, the one thing that it didn't do, losing my Sewjo, was actually put me off still looking at sewing related things. So I was still buying Burda and looking at the patterns in there. I was still looking on YouTube. I will link to last week's vlog where I showed you the patterns and the fabrics that I've been buying while I've not been vlogging. And you will see that actually I was still building towards a time when I was going to come back to sewing, because I knew it wasn't going to last forever. And I think the reason that I knew it wasn't going to last forever is that for me, I think the main reason I wasn't sewing was that I was struggling with dealing with processing grief over losing my parents and kind of generally having to sort out the estate. That, I think, for me was the single biggest factor. And so whilst I don't believe that grief is linear, and that's a whole other vlog, I did realise that there would be times in the future where I would want to sew and I wouldn't feel quite so overwhelmed. So I gave myself a permission to have a break. The second thing was that I started slowly. So I've referred to the fact that there is this kind of mess down here, and I said it was also quite a lot worse. And one of the reasons it was quite a lot worse was that I had some clothes in here that actually just needed little things doing to them to finish off. So you might remember back in January, February, I made the Love Notions pianoforte. It's called a jumper on the pattern, but it's pinafore. So I'll pop a pic of that in here. And I hadn't hemmed it. So one day when I kind of felt up to doing something, I came in here and I hemmed it. So that then it could be put away in the wardrobe. I'm looking over there because I've got clothes that is too hot to wear at the minute over in a wardrobe in here, and that got that out of the way and finished. So I did that. The jeans that I had made on the sewing retreat, I still don't like them, but I did sort out some problems where I hadn't caught the waistband down properly, and they were even more appalling than I still think they are. I really don't like them at all, but you never know, they'll be fine for wearing around the house. So I got those fixed as well, and then I decided that I wanted to finish off a make that I'd actually started on the sewing retreat and hadn't finished. So I will show you that now. So hang on a sec and I will pop it on Olivia. Okay, so here we go. So this is what I finished off that I'd started on the sewing retreat. So again, let me slide you over a little bit so you can see this. Try and pull that down a tiny bit. So there you go, you can see it. So this is the Idlewild t-shirt, and it's also a dress, and it is by It's Just Stitch. Now I would link it below, but I can't because she's retired the pattern. And actually I bought it at the point where she was doing a sale on it because she wasn't going to be selling it anymore. But I do really like the fit of this. So I will put some pictures in that my hubby took of me in town today wearing it. And it's made in this lovely cotton jersey from Little Legs fabric, and I just think it's great because it's got so many different colours in it, so you could pair it with I've worn it, I've got some kind of shorts ready to wear. They're like culottes really, in a burgundy, so I've pulled that out. I've worn it with blue culottes because obviously background colour's navy, but you could wear it with just about anything, and you can do, you know, you can put in earrings or wear rings of colours to match. So I just think it's really great for A, expressing your personality, and B, just using as a base to kind of spring off from in terms of what else you wear with it. So yeah, and I'd had the fabric in my stash for ages. So you've probably noticed that I keep going like this, and this is because I did, what did I do? I think I did most of it. I did do most of it on the overlocker, but because I'd lost my Sewjo, really could not be bothered to, let me come back to you a bit. I really couldn't be bothered to get my cover stitch out to do the hems because yeah, I wanted to get it done. I wanted to get it out of my whip pile, but yeah, I still wasn't feeling massively kind of eager to really put the effort in, if I'm completely honest. And so I finished the hems in zigzag stitch, and it's fine on the cuffs, but on the bottom of this it keeps rolling because, let me put you back down again. Sorry, let me take it off. Sorry, Olivia, I'm taking it off you. There we go. You can hopefully see I just didn't sew close enough to the where the fabric is folded over at the top. I sewed too close to the edge of the garment, and it is really annoying me. Every time I wear it, it curls up, and I really am finding it very irritating. So I suspect that now that my Sewjo is returned, I am going to unpick this and either re-zigzag stitch it or nearer the fold, or possibly cover stitch it, because I don't think anybody is really going to notice from a different distance that the cuffs are done in zigzag stitch and the bottom would be then cover stitch. But it is really irritating me. But I love the fit of this, and there will be more. So yes, and you can see that I have just a little tiny label, you see, with a cat on, which I think the lovely Mandy Make It Sew gave me. So yeah, it's just got that cute little label in. So that is one of the things that I did. And then the other thing that kind of got me sewing again in a small way, and I would kind of recommend this, maybe not with the pattern I picked, but do something that's a tried and true, so you know it should turn out okay, rather than doing something that's brand new, particularly if you've had a knock with a bad make and that's what's taken your Sewjo away. Do something that you know works, as you know, you've got a better chance of it turning out okay. So I am going to put what I made on Olivia, and then I'll come back and we can have a chat about it. So here we go, here's my tried and tested make. And the other thing about this make is, you might remember that I said one of the reasons that I lost my Sewjo, and I think maybe other people do sometimes, is they don't have any real reason to sew. You know, they've got clothes they can wear, there's nothing that, you know, is coming up that requires them to have a new outfit. And so that was the same for me for a little while. And then mid-July, my lovely friend from my last place that I used to work had a 50th birthday party, and she knows I sew, and I think she would have expected that I would wear something me made. So that gave me an incentive to sew something new. And I thought quite carefully about what I was going to make, and then I saw this fabric. So let me spin you around so you can see Olivia, and you can see the fabric. It's got these massive high-heeled shoes on it, and this came up on a Lady McElroy sale, and I'd looked at it a couple of times and thought, nah, I shouldn't really buy it. And then in the sale it was £8 a metre, and I think I got a 4 metre remnant, and I just thought, I've got to get it, because it is just so fantastic. And I think it's kind of glamorous without being, I was going to say without being over the top. Yeah, okay. Big high-heeled shoes all over it. But I just loved it, and I knew that I wanted to make something that would show the print off really well, and wasn't too broken up. And I have already made the fabric godmother peony dress, which I made for a wedding back in 2023, I think, which I really liked. So I'll pop a pic in of the original one here, and I know that that still fits despite the weight gain. So I was reasonably happy that this would fit. So I thought, this is good because I've got the paper pattern ready and I know it's going to fit okay. And so I made it up. And I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. And the other thing, let me just put you back to me, that I did whilst I was making Olivia is I tried something, making the peony. I tried something different out in terms of gathering, because there's a lot of gathering on this. So there's gathering on the armhole, the cuffs here, and there's also gathering on the bottom of the dress. So I'll put a pic in of me wearing this now. And what I did, instead of using my gathering foot on the sewing machine to gather, because to be perfectly honest, it doesn't work that well. really. And so what I did, instead of just sewing my 2 lines of gathering thread on the sewing machine in the kind of old-fashioned way, I had a go at gathering on my overlocker, and it worked brilliantly. What you do is you adjust the differential feed and you adjust the tension so that you can make the sewing go tighter. So I'll just pop some text telling you which way you do it, but I've got the Stitch Sisters overlocker course which I've bought, and that was quite useful as to giving instructions. So there's 2 ways you can gather on the overlocker. You can either adjust it so that the whole tension of the stitches changes and it actually gathers as you go, or you can kind of sew it normally and then just use the threads to pull it tight as you would when you're doing it on the sewing machine. But the advantage of doing it on the overlocker is that you get 2 stitches in one go, so 2 rows, rather than having to do it twice, and you know they're even because the needles are even. So let me know if you're interested in me showing you how you can do that. You can also get an extension for my overlocker, so you can get a gathering foot, which I think means that it just allows you to gather so that you can adjust it, and then like an attachment that allows you to then sew the gathered piece to the non-gathered piece at the same time. So if any of you have ever used anything like that, because I nearly bought one in a sale and then didn't, because I decided if I can just gather as it is at the moment, unless I start doing it a lot, there's probably no real point. But I was really pleased with the way it worked out, and I think it definitely saved me time with all the ruffle and everything that's on the bottom. So I wore this to the party, and I actually wore it with some earrings that I've got that are little Diamante high heels but flat shoes, because I kind of thought that would be quite a nice kind of statement really, and I didn't fancy hobbling around on high heels because it was in a cellar, the party. So I thought, no, okay, I think I'm just gonna go with my normal sparkly flat shoes. So that's what I did. And I really like wearing it, and I got lots of compliments on it. And if you were at the Festival of Quilts on the same day as me, you may also have seen me in it. So I will put a picture up, as I've said. And interestingly, the fit is a little bit more snug than my other peony, and I think it's just because this fabric is a bit thicker. But what I will say is that I think also I have lost a few inches from around my waist since my friend's party, because that was mid-July and we're now at least a month, probably 5 weeks on. So it is fitting better and it is looking better. I think it'll look better again in maybe another couple of months. But I'm very pleased with it. It went together really well and it was an enjoyable sew. So it kind of got me back into it a little bit. So that is everything that I've actually made recently. But let me have a little more of a chat about my other tips. So that was tip number 2, to start off small, take it slowly and do things that you know that you're going to manage to do fairly easily. So doing the hems, finishing things off, doing any repairs you need to do, and making a tried and true to get you back in the swing. The next thing is that I think when you're not sewing, it gives you time to step back a little bit and think about your wardrobe and make sure that you are going to be sewing things that you will wear, or if you don't sew clothes, things that you might use or you want to look at. So for example, if you're a quilter, are you sewing a quilt that you will want to put somewhere in your house, or that you know you want to give to somebody, rather than doing what I think we all do sometimes, is just going for colours we like and then thinking, actually, that's not going to either go with anything I've got to wear or go in any room in my house, because none of the rooms are coloured that way and the curtains aren't the right colour. And so just making sure that what you're doing fits. And I don't mean don't ever make a completely frivolous make that doesn't necessarily go anywhere and go with anything else in your wardrobe because you love it, but just so that you don't kind of feel, oh, I've made all this stuff and I can't use it, because that can be demotivating in itself. And so my big news, which I thought I would slip into this vlog, is that after I decided that I was struggling with overwhelm and I was off work for a little while, I did some thinking about what my priorities are. And they have changed. I decided it was time to move on. It was time to make more time for me, make more time for my husband, do things, not just sewing that I've always wanted to do. So I now, for example, volunteer for the National Trust 1 day a week. And I just thought it's time. I need not to put myself through this pressure anymore. I appreciate I am extremely lucky to be able to do that, and not everybody can. But I decided that I was going to retire early. So I am now officially retired as of about 3 or 4 days ago. So that means I need to rethink about my wardrobe, because I need to make sure it reflects my lifestyle properly. And so that fits in. So thinking about your sewing what you need and what will work for you is tip number 3. Tip number 4 is to review your wardrobe if you're a dressmaker, and be really reflective about whether it's working for you, whether you still wear everything in it, whether you really want to keep everything. And one of the things I did when I was off sick, although I didn't want to sew, I was feeling well enough to kind of do things like go through my wardrobe and have a look and see whether I still like the things in there. And I got rid of an awful lot. I sent most things that I got rid of to charity. Very few went to recycling, but I got rid of things I didn't like anymore, things that I didn't think I could fit into anymore, with the very odd exception if they were things that only just didn't fit me and that I knew I was likely to fit into if I just lost, a couple of kilos. So I kept a couple of those, but other than that, I was really ruthless, and I just got rid of an awful lot of things. So now I'm in a position where I can look critically at my wardrobe and say, okay, A, my lifestyle's changed, so what needs to change in terms of what I'm making? And B, what have I already got in my wardrobe and where are the gaps? So for example, I've got quite a lot of dresses, but I don't have, say, for example, cardigans that would really go with them. So that's a gap, and probably they need to be plain. I have got some ready to wear plain t-shirts, but not in every colour, so I probably need some plain t-shirts. And I have bought fabric to make plain t-shirts, and I just haven't made them. So that's something else. Because I now have a more active lifestyle, I want to sew some leggings, because that now makes sense, because the ones I've got aren't going to last forever. So I bought some fabric, you will have seen last week, to make some leggings. And this is still ongoing, and I will do a whole other vlog about what I'm thinking about for my wardrobe going forward and the types of things that I want to sew. But in the short term, my tip number 5 is, if you are like me and you are trying to change your body shape, weight, whatever, and you are concerned about making things that aren't going to fit you for very long, then I've got a few suggestions, which is make things that are easy to fit, in the sense that it doesn't really matter if you gain or lose a couple of pounds, or your biceps change a bit or whatever. So for example, my t-shirt is a case in point, my lollipop t-shirt. That will look fine if I lose 2 more kilos. It would look fine if I put the weight back on again. But also, and you will have seen last week, what I'm concentrating on at the moment is I'm making bathrobes for myself and my husband, because we are going on holiday soon and we're going on a cruise, and on the cruise they don't provide bathrobes anymore. But they are loose. They're designed to be wrapped around you. So again, it doesn't matter if my weight fluctuates a bit. And equally, I'm sewing for him also. And the other thing that I have been sewing recently, and again this was partly prompted by the fact that I didn't know what my body shape is going to end up like. I haven't set an end point. I haven't really set a target weight. I would like my BMI to be normal, but other than that I haven't really set a target goal, so I don't really know. So I'm sewing some jeans for him, because then my body can sort itself out, and in the meantime I can sew for him. So I'm making the quadra jeans, but I have stopped. They're going fine, but I've stopped, and I've done a base fit on him and they're fine, but I've kind of paused those so I can get the robes done, and then I'll go back to the jeans. And I'd really like to make myself something to go on holiday, but whether I'll have time, I really don't know. And the other thing I would say is make wearable toiles, so that if you think that your weight is going to change again, then you can make something that you can wear, see if you like it as a pattern. You might even get a feel for where it is that you're losing or gaining weight or changing body tone most. And depending what you pick, you might be able to pick something. So for example, if you make something with an elasticated waist, you can adjust the elastic if you lose weight or you put a bit on. So thinking carefully about what patterns are going to work for you at that time. That's how I have got my Sewjo back. So that's it. Those are the 5 things that I've done to get my Sewjo back, and I'm pleased to report that I am now raring to go, although trying to sew in a considered manner, in a way that's going to work for me going forward. So do please let me know if you've got any further hints or tips or any comments on anything I've said, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.